Hi everybody, this is Devin with RM Wraps, here today to talk to you about our custom print service. So if you didn't know, we can print more than just the designs you see here on our website. If you're a graphic designer doing something personal, doing your own artwork, or if you work for a company and you're doing your own branding, your own advertising, you can send us your artwork that you design and we can print it for you. And so today in this video, what I want to talk to you about is setting up your graphics to account for extra bleed you need or safe areas or anything like that, and how to, if you're not working off of one of our pre-designed templates, how to set up your graphics yourself. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to get the easy ones out of the way first. If you are working off of one of our design templates that we have available on our website, first I'll show you where you get those. So if you come here to our website, rmwraps.com, there's our homepage. If you scroll on down to the bottom, right here under additional info, we have free templates. So if you click free templates, you'll see here buttons to every single one of our templates that we've designed, meaning we've actually had one of these units here in our shop before and we've wrapped them in our full service program for one of our customers. So if you you look here, we got all the IDWs, all the Avant codes we've ever wrapped, and then on down here we've got the kind of stragglers, the individual units from less popular brands here. So we've got the Insignia 48 can. If you just click on that, here is that same design file that you saw I just had open in Adobe Illustrator. You can download this. If you use it in Adobe Illustrator, it's got everything pre-layered out. So the safe area, the body, the bleed area, the legend, everything, all the pictures, it's all individual layers that you can turn on and off. So you can put the safe area dotted line over top of your artwork, turn it on and off just to make sure nothing's going to fall off the edge, everything like that. So that's where you get those. If I go over back here to Illustrator, I've got that same template set up. So for example, if I wanted to design a RMwraps based or an RMwraps branded Insignia 48 can, first thing I want to talk about here is setting up logos or anything for the glass area. So for example, let me just create a copy of that, get out of the way real fast. Most companies like to do just solid white. So if you wanted a solid white copy of our text logo, something like this, we could totally do that. Anything that is going to go on the glass that is a custom cut shape where you can actually kind of see through the middle of the letters and everything needs to be a vector path. So that's what I've created down here. This is our logo with the shadow ripped off of it, and it's a 3D rendered logo. It's not a natively vectored file. So what I had to do was create this, kind of rip the shadow off of it in Photoshop and then bring it into Illustrator here and do the image trace function, which does something like that, and you fiddle with all these little settings until you get the path fitting as best as possible. As you can see here, I didn't get it perfect for this video, so if I was to actually go to production with this, I would come in here and manually edit these paths and get it a little bit tighter. You can also just draw your paths by hand if you're more comfortable doing it that way, but anyway, long story short, we do need some kind of vector pathing there, whether you're using a 3D rendered logo or just a flattened logo out of Photoshop or something like that. You need that vector path for the machines to be able to see the path of where it's going to cut. So that's just a quick little note there for glass graphics. If you're going to just cover the glass completely, just completely block it off with graphics that match your sides, you don't have to worry about that. You would design it just like you do the side graphics over here. So moving on to the side graphics, what you can do, or what I did here first, was I grabbed our gray and black kind of stone texture background that we use for a lot of our branding, a lot of our videos and stuff, and just stretched it to fit the body of this fridge and mirrored it, just created a mirror copy and stretched it up there. You'll notice right now I have this, if I select both of them, I have it set up to the side, top, and side of this refrigerator. If you think of the wrap as a giant letter U, because it will be in one piece, there's the side, there's the top, and then that other side is actually going to be kind of upside down if it was coming down the side like this. So for example, if I wanted my logo here on the side rather than on the glass, I would, center it, do what kind of design I want to do here, and then bring it up and flip it upside down. If I bring back my background there. And then as you see, I have the safe area as a separate layer. I can actually bring it up top above my artwork layer. And you'll now see that I have these dotted lines that just kind of show me, here's the safe area. Unless the install goes really sideways on you, anything inside the safe area should not fall off the edge of the wrap. So I would kind of leave these here, and you can be safe and just lock them so you can't select them anymore. And then I want my background graphics to now go out to the edge of this red area. It's called the bleed area. And you'll notice I have it, we only have about an inch on the bottom. So coming off of the bottom of the fridge here, that's all you really need. And we only add that inch just to account for any amount of shrinkage in the vinyl. The vinyl does shrink very slightly over the probably first week or two of the vinyl having been printed, especially before the vinyl is applied and that glue gets activated to the subject it's going to be wrapped to. The vinyl does shrink just a little bit over time. So if we made it the exact size, we might actually end up a little bit short when the vinyl actually gets applied to the subject. So we add that bleed. It also allows you to adjust a little bit just in case this fridge ended up being an 1/8 inch narrower. They changed the manufacturing process at Best Buy or what have you. Having that extra bleed does allow you to shift the design kind of up or down on either side to get yourself centered. But we do also have extra bleed. You'll notice there's more bleed on the sides. And what that allows you for on any of our given templates, we've kind of pre-planned how much that bleed needs to be. And in particular on this fridge, it's to cover this area here. So on every fridge, it's different. On these little guys, I think it's like 3/4 of an inch or even possibly 1 whole inch right here. So if we only had 1 inch to cover this inside edge, you'd have to be dead on with that install. So by adding a little bit extra, it allows you to be not quite 100% square to the fridge and still get this area fully covered. And it'll actually reach into this area a little bit farther. And you can see in our install how-to videos how to take the knife included with your order and kind of trim the excess off right there. But anyway, so that is why we have extra bleed here and there. And what we would end up doing before going to print is just taking our background graphics and stretching them to completely cover that area right there. So you can see with the safe area, since I had those locked, my logo didn't get any bigger. It's not in any trouble there's no risk of it falling off the edges or anything. And our background graphics will now fully extend to cover the entire body of the fridge. The last thing you want to do before sending us this file, and you can literally just save over top of this file, not unlock everything, but just turn all those off and save this file just as is like this with all this layer information on there, just in case we need to make any adjustments. And if everything looks good to us, we'll just delete those before we go to print. But the last thing you will want to do, and we double check this, if you didn't do it, we can do it right before we go to print. But what you want to do is right here at the corner where the side and the top of the fridge meet. So this little corner right here and this little corner right there, we like to put little dots. So I just have 2 little white dots. They're about 1/16 of an inch right at that corner where the top and the side meet. And what that allows you to do, if you mark both corners, at least on one side, is get lined up to the body of the fridge a lot faster and a lot easier. And you can see that again in our how-to videos, but you can, let me get that background back. Like I said, I do about 1/16 of an inch because it helps. They're big enough to be able to see, but not so big that when you actually have the fridge wrapped, they're not super distracting and apparent. You can also, they don't have to be super stark, crazy different color. You can find a color that contrasts decently enough to just be seen against your background graphic, but kind of blends in. So see, that would be bad because you can't find it, but you can kind of play with these, change the color of them a little bit, help them blend in. So that's plenty apparent. And then this one, I wouldn't make it the same color as that one over there because this area of the graphic is darker, but you can color pick and then just slide up a little ways. And there is that dot. So again, those really help with aligning your graphic. They save you a lot of time and adjustment and everything. So we recommend adding those as your kind of final step once your graphics are all completely set up. And then again, from there, you can just turn everything off and that would be your printed graphic right there. So that is how you set up a wrap graphic on any of the design templates we have there on our website. And next we will go into setting up your own custom graphics. If you are wanting to wrap a more complicated subject and create a template like this one, we do have another video here over on actually on the template page right here at the bottom, and I actually showed you the step-by-step process in this video of how I came up with the process of creating templates with bleed area and legends and everything like this. So if you're making your own template for a complex subject, go ahead and go watch this video on the bottom of our template page. But let's keep rolling. I'll show you how we set up doors and elevators and refrigerators next. Okay, so now let's talk about setting up graphics for a door. And the main thing I want to just kind of talk about is, I've kind of colored two areas here, the main body of the door and then your bleed area for going around the edges. You only really have to worry about this bleed area being in only more than an inch if you're doing one of our long-term graphic installs with like a normal vinyl material with our UV resistant lamination. If you're going for a temporary one, or if you're trying to wrap a panel door, the best thing to use is our Phototex material, which is that fabric material. And for that stuff, we don't recommend wrapping it around the edge. We just recommend installing it to this green face area and then trimming it flush. But anyway, let's get into setting up for a graphic with bleed. So what I would do is I would just take the width and height of your door there, and I'll just use some generic numbers. So for example, we had a customer recently place an order with us that had a 32-inch by 78-inch door. In terms of setting up your resolution, we recommend at least 180. We don't see much of a change as long as you aren't using low quality graphics and stretching them up to the size of your door. If you're starting at a native resolution of this size and everything's nice and big and or vectored, 180 is our minimum. You can go all the way up to 300. Heck, you can go higher than that if you want, but like I said, we don't really see with our modern printer much of a noticeable quality change, and sometimes you really can't see any difference between 180 and 300. So we like to work in 180. It just keeps the file sizes down, so I'm just going to leave it there. And the first thing I do, just to make sure that we're not going to lose our door size when we change our canvas size in a second, is I just set rulers to our four sides here, and in Photoshop they should snap. You should turn your snapping on, that way it just pops right to it. And then from there you can, if you decide you want to, set inside, you know, a certain amount of safe area. That's up to you. But main thing is getting that main green area, that body of your door kind of set up. And then from there we do, just like our mini fridges, we do an inch top and bottom, and mostly what that does is it allows you to have a little bit of up and down play, just in case you design this and you forgot to account for your door handle, for example, and your logo just comes, or whatever, your design element comes uncomfortably close or even gets covered up by the door handle a little bit. That extra inch allows you to just, you know, have a little bit of play to maybe squeak it up a little bit higher to get away from that door handle or what have you. It also helps account for just a little bit of the shrinkage that happens to inkjet printed vinyls over time as they cure. So what we do here is, now that I've got my ruler set here, I actually just do a canvas size change. So that's under, I'll show you one more time, image, canvas size right here. And you want to make sure you're adjusting from the middle, not from the top, not from a corner. You want to go from the middle, and we're just going to add an inch top and bottom. So we're adding 2 inches total to the height. So I'm just going to change that to 80, hit OK, and you'll see now it's added an inch down here, an inch up here, and it left our rulers snapped to where they were. Something important to remember, anytime you change your canvas size, anytime you do your crop tool adjustment, is your rulers reset themselves to the canvas as a whole. So you'll notice, because I didn't change the width, my 0 still lines up here with my ruler, but this one is now off. So if you didn't know, this little box up here, if you double click it, it resets it to your canvas, but you can also click and drag this and you can snap it anywhere you want. So if I for some reason wanted my 0, 0 out here, my 0, 0 is now out here in the middle of nowhere. And again, you can double click that and it'll pop it back to this top left corner of your canvas. But what I want to do, just to make sure I'm measuring everything from my ruler, or from my guides here, not from the rulers themselves, not from the canvas, is you click and drag and then put that guy back there. So the other thing we want to do is measure how thick our door is. It's always a good idea for the vinyl to go around that corner and stay stuck here where the latching and everything is, where the latch and your door lock and everything are. It's a cleaner look. It kind of adds to the dimensionality of the print on the door, and it also helps protect this edge. If you are trimming flush to this edge, there's always that chance that instead of grabbing the door handle, somebody grabs the whole door and they rub their hand against that edge, and the vinyl can lift up over time. So we always recommend with our long-term vinyl wraps that you go around that door edge, and so we want to take a measurement of that. That measurement on most doors is usually like an inch, inch and a quarter, inch and a half. We typically just expect an inch, and it covers most doors totally fine. And then we add a little bit out past that extra because you want to actually come beyond it and trim it flush when you're done installing. So we typically add 2 inches, but I would suggest measuring your door. If your door is anything more than like an inch and a quarter, I would recommend adding an inch to whatever you measure. So let's say you measured and this actually came out to 1 3/4 inches. The bleed we're going to add on our design file is going to be 2 3/4 inches. So we'll actually go in and set that up now. For the sake of easy mental math, I'm just going to assume that this was an inch. So we're going to add 2 inches to both sides, or 4 inches total from center. So I'll come in again to my canvas, leave my height alone, and this time I'm going to add 4 total to that. So that becomes 36, and I make sure I'm measuring out from the center. And now, again, that extra area outside has now been added, and we can stretch our graphics out to that. One more time, you want to make sure that you are resetting your rulers to your guides, not to this canvas area, because it'll throw everything off. And then a good rule of thumb, always good practice, is give yourself a center line. So 32-inch wide door, our center line is going to be right here on 16. You just hold shift as you're dragging your rulers, and it'll snap nice and easy. And there, your canvas is basically ready for you to design your wrap. So for the sake of, let's just go with, okay, I want a bright green door. That's what we're going to print. So as after I paint bucket fill that in, we're going to do the same thing that we do on our mini fridges, is just add ourselves little corner dots up here. So remember, inside of this, I'll get rid of that center line. Inside of our rulers here is the actual body of the door. This will get trimmed off, that'll get trimmed off. This will wrap around the edge of the door to that red area, and anything extra will get trimmed off as well. So what we want to do to make sure our print is nice and easy to line up when we're installing it is just add little dots to the corners. On 180 DPI, I like to do a 10 pixel, just little paintbrush dot, basically. I find that it's small enough that it disappears when you actually go to install your app. So I just put one at that corner, and I put one at that corner. And again, I would just grab whatever your main background color is. You want it to stand out enough that you'll be able to find it, but not so much that it's kind of like distracting, or you can tell that you just really had just a big old dot there in the corner. I believe that the 10 pixel size does change depending on what your DPI setting of your graphic is. So you may need to bump this up to 15 or 20 pixels if you're running on a 300 DPI file. You'll just have to kind of experiment, but what you can do is just, kind of zoom out and look at the size of those dots compared to the overall door. Just make sure they're not too big, not too distracting, and you should be good. But from there, you should be good. Just kind of double check your measurements one more time, and that will be enough bleed, 1 inch top, 2 on the sides, to fully wrap your door. And again, we have how-to videos on how to do that on our website. And also you get a little squeegee when we send out our orders, and there's a little QR code on that squeegee you can scan. It'll take you to our how-to videos as well. A quick note about elevator doors. They're basically the same thing, except you don't typically wrap around the inside edge, so you'll end up with just an inch on top. Get a pointer so you can see. So you'll end up on an inch on top, inch on the sides, and we have how-to videos on how to do those as well. We cut the backing material a little bit differently to make them a little bit easier to install. But yeah, elevator doors are done basically the same way. So that's how you set up a door, and next we'll be showing you how to set up a refrigerator. Okay, and the final major chunk I want to talk about is laying out something a little bit more complex like a refrigerator. And real quick, I just realized I didn't mention on that last section, the way I laid out our doors is the same way you can lay out a desk or anything that's horizontal rather than kind of a vertical surface. So that same process will work for a desk wrap. But let's show kind of my process of doing a refrigerator, something with more complex, more measurements. So speaking of these, we have these measurement check sheets that you can use to kind of keep your measurements all straight. They are all on our website. If you go to, here's our main web page. If you go to just any one of our designs, say we go in here to our beer safe design, and you scroll on down the page, every single one of our wrap products will have these right here, these check sheets by style. So the single door upright, or the stack door, which you just saw I had open in Illustrator, side by side, a French door. You can also find them if you go down here and go to, I believe, our how-to videos, and then click on refrigerators. It'll actually take you to kind of our catch-all, like more information page, and they are also right there. So let's say I downloaded this check sheet, took all of these measurements, and now I want to take these into Photoshop to do some kind of design. You can also do this in Illustrator. I'm more versed in Illustrator, so if I was to do this, it would be a little bit faster in Illustrator, but I'll show you how to do it in Photoshop because most people work in Photoshop. So I would start a new document, and the size doesn't really matter. All you really want to worry about is getting your resolution, again, to at least 180. You can go higher than that, but somewhere between 180 and 300 is always, like, we don't see much of a quality improvement from 180 going to 300 or higher. It just makes your files bigger, so we like to work with 180. So in this case, because I'm going to have I'm going to have a door, a side, and a top if you're doing a full wrap. It's a lot easier to just blow your artwork or your artboard canvas way up and start working from here. Let's see, I'll get rid of that and go back to, if I do this, that, and kick back to plain white just because the rulers are hard to see on that checkerboard background. Okay, so what you can do is just kind of pick a spot at random and kick your first corner, and what I would do here is set your area to that, and then from there start entering your dimensions. So I would put in my A first. A is just the width of the top and bottom door. They should both be the same width. So let's, for example, say that those were 25-inch wide doors. Then I would set a ruler to whatever my B dimension was. So let's say, for example, that was 18. Come on down here to 18. So there is the surface area, the front-facing surface of my freezer door. The next thing we want to worry about is actually, keep going back to that website, this E dimension right here, which is actually the depth of the door. And I've got this measurement E here, but we're actually going to be changing these measurement sheets here soon, because what we're finding is a lot of refrigerators, if they are not perfectly flat like this, if there's any kind of curve to the front of the door, they will actually be thicker in the middle, especially on French doors and 4-door units. The middle here, because the doors usually have a outward curve to them, the middle is the deepest part. So this spot right here won't be the deepest, it'll be the middle, and you'll want to measure whatever your deepest is. On some of the new French doors, it's pretty thick, it's like 4 inches. So what I want to do is account for that plus a little bit extra. So just like our doors, whatever that number is, I want to add an inch to it. So let's say, for example, our doors were 4 inches deep. I would then come in here outside of the body, and I'll do it on the side, the top, the side, and the bottom, and add 5 inches to it. So for example, our door is 4 inches deep. I'm actually going to go 5, come out here to 5, and then come over here to 5. Let's see, 25 plus 5 will go 30, and then 18 plus 5 will go all the way out to 23. So now that inside here is our main door area, and then out here is our bleed for all of that. I then like to come down here, and if you're doing a stack door, design the bottom freezer door directly underneath this one, and we add just like a 1/4 inch. This is going to stay as a solid white stripe that gives us, when we're printing it, an area to separate the two areas. And just to stay visual with what we're doing here, I will just fill in some areas real fast. So we'll do here, do it that way. So there is the main body, there is our bleed area for that freezer door, and then coming down here, I'm going to reset my rulers to right here, and assuming that our doors are the same width, so the A is not going to change, but the C is. I think an average stack door refrigerator is something like 40 inches or 42 inches tall, so we'll come all the way down to that. We'll go 42. Now, you don't need all this amount of bleed. Actually, let me backtrack, because this is where it's easy to forget that you need bleed for the top of that door as well. So if my ruler was set here, I need this 5 inches of bleed right here. So I actually need to come down 5 inches from where I just started and reset my corner. So now that is the body of the fridge. This is on top of that door, that depth of the door that we were talking about being about 4 inches. And then from there, I want to go down to 42 inches, so that door will get a little bit longer. So now that we've got this being the main body area, bleed, bleed, bleed. The bottom, you don't need the full depth of the door because you'll never see underneath there anyway, so we typically only add an inch. So that now becomes our body of our door right there. And again, my Photoshop likes to keep those, the stroke and fill, and especially that 19.66. I don't know where it got that, but it likes to hold on to it for forever for some reason. But anyway, so there's our freezer door and our refrigerator door. Next, doing the F and G measurements, the depth of the body of the fridge, not counting the door, and then the height of the side of the fridge. You can come in and do the same thing here, and you'll notice you do start to get a little crazy on the rulers here in Photoshop. So you may want to do something like this, where you draw a box on top of a box and just go to a different color. Make sure it's on top of that one. And I can just create a copy of that real fast and come on down here. So just to give yourself a visual reminder if you decide you want to kind of clear your guides and start fresh, if you wanted to do that. Because these lines do start to get a little crazy. So I'm going to come out here to do my side graphic and reset my ruler here. And let's say the fridge was 25 inches deep by 66. That's a lot of popular fridges. You'll notice, because of all this extra bleed we added to the refrigerator doors, it looks shorter, like it looks visually shorter. Again, if I draw a box to that actual 66 and filled it in with our green, like that, you're like, well, that doesn't seem right. The doors look longer than the side of the fridge. That actually, if you think about taking all this bleed away, these should be within a ½ inch of each other, only not accounting for this gap between the two doors. So we would do that, and then from there I would just add an inch all the way around, because that's all you really need. So it's set up just like the side of a door. So you could come in here and go -1, -1. I said it was 25, so you go 26, and then come down here to 67, and you could create a copy of this, make the other one. Let's see, go back to this, make it black. Oh, I dragged it. Didn't mean to drag it. There we go. So if we did something like this and kicked it to black just to show our bleed area and put it out like that, that's how you would do that. And then you would do the same thing for the top graphic. You can design it all in individual pieces and then, or in one central document. And then what I would recommend doing is when your design is 100% done and you're happy with it, I would then flatten it all and kick each one of these pieces out to an individual file. You can keep these two doors together because we print them together, but then typically this is too wide together for our printer. So this door ends up printing like down here, and then there's another one below that, and then the top of the fridge. And the top of the fridge is the same way as doing a side. You just take your, I believe in this case it'd be A and F measurements to get a box for the top of that fridge, and then just add an inch all the way around, and you've got your area. And again, I would kick this out to a file, so save it as custom design side, custom design front, doors, custom design top. Send us 3 individual files for those, and then we would print them for you. Last kind of extra note, just as a reminder, it is a good idea to add little corner markers to each individual piece of vinyl you're going to install. So I like to set it 10 pixels for 180 dpi file and just put little dots at the corners like that. I would do one over here, and then same thing on these, because these will be separate pieces of vinyl. You'll install them separately, so just like that. And then, so if I wanted to print this weird green black fridge, that's exactly how it would be set up. I believe that is it. If you have any questions for setting up custom graphics for us to print, if you've got kind of a weird subject and you're not quite sure how to tackle it, you can contact us. You can call us at 208-696-1180. You can find us online here at RMwraps. We have a contact page down here at the bottom that you can shoot us a form over here. You can email us at info@rmwraps.com. There's a lot of different ways to contact us. You can even FaceTime or Google Duo us at that same phone number. Either I or Randy Miller, the owner, will pick up and hopefully be able to assist you. But anyways, thanks for watching that one. If you got any questions, let us know, and we will see you on the next video.